Hey, peace and blessings, everybody. It's your brother Sorry back with yet another one. Um, Peace to the ancestors. Always appreciative of their contributions, their shoulders that we stand on. Um, Peace and blessings to all those ones that didn't make it to the tail end of 2025. Love y'all, miss y'all, appreciate y'all. Everything we learned from y'all and gained from y'all while y'all were amongst us in the flesh. Um, Peace to the true and living. Who is the true and living? Mike wasn't even plugged up. Who is the true and living? If you are tuned into any of this, you must be the true and living. Um, Now, as we always say in our efforts to hold down this section of the internet, you know what I mean, we present to you with another issue of Ether Illustrated. I think what is the 11th issue of Ether Illustrated. So we've been kind of breezing through this thing. Been kind of trying to touch on different subjects. It's reasons why we kind of like touch on this. We get little nuances and things when we kind of view things through this lens. Not trying to convert nobody to or away from nothing. Whatever your religious persuasion is, have at it. You know what I'm saying? More power to you. But we do explore like the engineering of the various different spiritual systems as well as various different social systems. In some of these case studies that we've been kind of going through or we will be going through. Um, we kind of been doing it on a micro scale with the feedback loop from the blueprint or soul to the individual and everything like that. Um, Kind of dealing with Dolores Cannon stuff, the uh, acausal, the traumatic experiences that we have or what have you that are unresolved in our experience with people in our with life. They manifest through illnesses. These traumatic situations or whatever case may be, they manifest through acausal situations like Carl Jung talks about and Wolfgang Pauli talks about. um, so we've been kind of going through various different things or whatever. An example, I mean, we just did the whole thing, the one on necromancy and the one on the bioetheric engineering of homicide. Now, the reason why we even do things, that's an example of the relevance of some of this, filtering some of this through that. Basically, what the necromancer is doing, um, he's basically we liken the soul as an electrical phenomenon, like a field, because we're dealing with Tesla's physics. So we liken the soul as a field, or that kind of couples with the body and everything like that. Upon death, it decouples, or whatever case may be. And the body, as its battery or capacitor, has some semblance of a residual energy field around it and everything like that. The necromancer uses the residual energy field or whatever in a ritualistic fashion or what have you to interrupt the death process. As he interrupts the death process and everything like that, he uses an artifact to bind the deceased person to him or whatever case may be, so he can do his work through the agency of the dead person. Now, this is viewed by many as black magic, but as we were dealing with the right and the left hand path tantra on these case studies that we've been doing with a mature mind. With these case studies that we've been doing, the right hand path is going to church every Sunday or whatever, or remnant of devotion in a structured, systematic, medium type of energy way over a long period of time to get guaranteed results or whatever. That lady that's been the mother of the church, that's been going to church, that same church 40, 50 years or whatever, and she believes real strongly in whatever she believes in, Jesus Christ, however it may go. And that lady, when she pray for you, it means something. It have power. She can touch you and tell you, hey baby, don't go over there, don't do this, that, or third, or whatever, because she has been through that's the right hand path system. You see what I'm saying? Left hand path system or whatever, high risk, high reward, or whatever case may be. You could damn near kill yourself dealing with some of this stuff or whatever case may be. As a matter of fact, when we talk about the necromancer or whatever, one of the ultimate consequences, should he execute his method ineffectively, the entity that he's trying to bind to himself can unalive him. So when we contrast that, let's say, like with the bioetheric engineering of homicide. You see what I'm saying? When a person just goes out there randomly and just unalive somebody or whatever, they just have malicious intent in their heart and they just want to get somebody up out of here or whatever case may be, you're binding this individual to you. You ain't got no artifact. You ain't got no system. You see what I'm saying? How we talking about the left and the right hand path? It's a system of dealing with volatile energy or whatever, but there's a system and a tradition in place, and there's fail safes because it's understood that these are the effects of doing this. So he gives ritual offerings to the deceased and stuff like that. So he don't get this same blowback that you gonna get if you just go out there and just execute your aggression out on somebody or whatever. Now, this disembodied person is haunting you unto your unaliving and unto your incarceration and plaguing your life with various different visions and things of that nature or whatever case may be through this um, joint traumatic act that you've initiated. You've interrupted their death process and now they're bound to you type deal. So this is one reason, this is one I don't know, significant aspect of kind of dealing with various different facets of society from this perspective. You get various different nuances that you will not get. Now that's more on the micro scale of things, dealing with individuals. You see what I'm saying? On the macro scale of things, we've talked about how a priesthood of a society, like how we deal with an Ifa priest or whatever case may be, he's more that priesthood is more geared toward servicing a community and everything like that. Um, the function of the priest is going to morph in as far as how they think, how everything's going to look or whatever case may be. We stated in a previous video that based on the function of the law, you see what I'm saying? How law breaks down, how natural law mirrors, how positive law mirrors natural law, and similar to how we're talking about principles, you see what I'm saying, in themes, substantive law actually kind of deals with that or whatever case may be. An example of substantive law, let's say something as simple as car insurance or whatever, or insurance in general, house insurance or whatever, that comes out of the principle in the doctrine in substantive law called subrogation. You see what I'm saying? Somebody else paying for something on your behalf or whatever, something like that. That comes out of that doctrine or whatever, the substance of the doctrine or whatever. And we talked about on previous videos or whatever, how when you alter the substance of the doctrine, you get different effects in society and stuff like that. And sometimes that can be used to modulate the karmic ramifications of doing things. If you render a person in society less than human, if you do harm to that person, it doesn't impact the same as if you do harm to somebody who is deemed fully human in that society. So we kind of talked about, various things like that. Talked about how Ma'at ties into the whole phenomenon of pressure mediation in nature and everything like that, maintaining a certain level of balance. So the legal system in a society is designed to do a very similar thing or whatever. It's man's artificial feedback loop or whatever case may be to help justice out and to help distribute this justice. And remember, we said the justice is not the punishment of God. It's nature trying to heal itself or whatever case may be, right? So let's get into this. We're going to get into the bioetheric engineering of incarceration, some of it anyway. Okay, so the bioetheric engineering of incarceration, the legal and correctional system encompassing crime, charges, bonds, courts, and prisons can be analyzed as a complex mechanism designed to manage and reroute the energetic fallout of societal disharmony, utilizing the human body as a form of collateral capacitor, right? So basically what it's saying, when you get into books like One Man Out, creditors and their bonds. Shout out to the brother Yusuf El. He popularized those books years and years and years ago. You see what I'm saying? Spent a little bit of time kind of studying the law, and that brother was a very influential force as far as that. So shout out to that brother, making a great number of us better. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Putting his piece to the puzzle in there. So the judicial system as etheric management. So when we get into the body as collateral or whatever, when you when you, and this is for my young gods, because I know they don't teach y'all nothing. You know what I'm saying? So this is just like a crash course. So when you commit a crime, you know, they cut your food stamps off. So you finna go to Walmart and act a fool and steal and all this stuff like that. So when you commit a crime, there's a charge associated with that. Okay. Currency is similar to current in a financial system and everything like that, money and stuff like that. So it's a charge associated with every crime and everything like that. When you get incarcerated, you bond out or whatever case may be. So dollar amount associated with that bond. Your body is in jail as collateral until you bond out, and that piece of paper takes the place of your body in jail and everything like that. When you go to court, or whatever case may be. This is like an energetic auditing, like a financial auditing, similar to when you the heart is weighed against a feather. It's a similar thing, an energetic auditing. You know what I'm saying? Like a bank accountant or something like that, auditing somebody or something like that. Very similar situation or whatever case may be. Um, when you go for the charge or whatever case may be, there's a sentencing bond and everything like that. So the sentence is proportional. The amount of the sentence or the length of the sentence is proportional to the dollar amount associated with the crime. You see what I'm saying? So the prison, so called, is really more of a physical warehousing. You can only be committed into slavery according to the 13th Amendment if you commit a crime. So that's kind of how we got into that. We were having another conversation in another case study about the law being used to modulate karmic volatility and everything like that. And that came up as far as the 13th Amendment. So we say, hey, man, we're going to do a little piece on the Bio-Aetheric Engineering of Incarceration. So, yeah, being incarcerated is being civilly dead. You see what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother thing. You're basically being warehoused until the duration of the maturation date of this bond comes out or whatever. So it's kind of like the monetization of incarceration type deal. But anyway, and for the sake of being on YouTube, all my real ones know that this is you know what I'm saying. But for the sake of being on YouTube or whatever, we'll just say this is all alleged. This is all according to books like One Man Out, according to creditors in their bonds, according to books like what is it, Invisible Contracts. You see what I'm saying? When you get into the redemption movement and stuff like that, when you get into that whole gambit right there, or whatever case may be, you start getting to the where the financial part merges into with the personhood and the citizenship and all that. So the judicial system as etheric management, drawing from the principles of the bioetheric feedback loop and the esoteric function of religious authority. The esoteric function of religious authority, judges and lawyers as etheric priests. In this model, the function of judges, lawmakers, and lawyers align with the societal role of priests and shaman. Yeah, because they modulate the feedback loop. Remember, we talking about the feedback loop on a macro scale, not a micro scale. So an ether priest will modulate an individual's um human biofield, or modulate their individual situation or whatever case may be. These individuals modulate the societal feedback loop or whatever case may be. If they start a war, that means something. That's equivalent to some sort of sacrifice or whatever case may be. You see what I'm saying? You know, to offset certain instabilities within the society in itself. Sometimes that's one of the things that does happen or whatever. That's one of the functions of the executive branch or whatever case may be, to ritually um offset incoherence in the system. You see what I'm saying? So, that's the whole thing. Okay, so they don't just manage physical disputes, they manage the bioetheric feedback loop of society. Remember how we talked about with the bioetheric feedback loop of society and stuff like that? Um, Political social unrest, strife, civil wars, and things like that come from um, imbalances in the social fabric of the society and stuff like that. There's a feedback loop in society. Physical disputes, they manage the bioetheric feedback loop of society. The problem or crime. A crime is an action that creates a chaotic, negative energetic discharge. trauma, fear, anger that feeds back into the collective unconscious, distributing the social etheric balance, or whatever case may be. Okay, the solution: law, policy. Laws and policies are the rituals or spells that attempt to define, contain, and neutralize this negative feedback, or whatever case may be. Remember how we talked about in the previous video how you have corrective laws, how you might have laws that would suggest a person is 3/5 of a person, and then you had later on you have the 13th Amendment, and later on you have the Civil Rights Act and all of that stuff like that. Those are corrective laws and everything like that. However, corrective laws can't correct previous wrongs from the when the substance of the law is interpreted in a prior way or whatever. The only way to rectify something like that would be with remedy or remedial law, and then you would get into things like reparations and things of that nature. So by adapting the legal code, these priests attempt to reestablish energetic equilibrium and so-called social harmony. The legal process as financial and energetic charging. So we're going to get into this. The legal terminology itself suggests an underlying energetic and contractual reality, resonating with the esoteric term text like creditors and their bonds, one man out, and invisible contracts. So this is kind of that type of flavor. Creditors and Their Bonds is a book. I suggest you read it. One Man Out is a good book. I suggest you read it. Invisible Contracts is another good book. I suggest you might want to read it. A crime is a charge. The term charge is central. In electrical and energetic terms, referencing Tesla physics and the body electric by Robert Becker, a crime imposes a negative electrical and energetic load onto the individual and the social field. The individual has taken on a debt of negative energy, right? They have some sort of debt obligation or whatever case may be. Okay, bonds and collateral. The concepts of bonds, bail bonds, surety bonds, and sentence bonds align with the idea of a financialized energetic contract, right? Okay, so the bond represents the societal etheric value placed on the individual's future energy output, their capacity to be constructive member of society until the charge is resolved. Because remember, we said the sentence is directly proportionate to the value of the charge and everything like that. So we'll get into that in a second. The body is collateral, consistent with the theories of invisible contracts. The individual's physical body, the bioelectric capacitor of the electric soul, is the ultimate collateral for the bond, for this bond. So that's why you're warehoused in a prison. The collateral is warehoused, just like putting it in a vault somewhere. The person in their sovereign capacity is understood to have a massive underlying financial energetic value, which the state assesses to settle the debt. All right. So your energetic value, your projected labor, everything like that, that's used to settle the debt from the charge that you just did. Okay, the charge that you just got. Okay, maturation date. The duration of the sentence is the maturation date of the bond. Let's say that again. The duration of the sentence is the maturation date of the bond. Peace to my young gods. To my young gods. Peace to the gods. You feel me? This is the period required for the individual's time and labor, energetic output to fully neutralize the negative charge, the charge that you just caught of the crime, and discharge the debt on the invisible contract. Right? So yeah, so basically the court is a audit. It's an energetic financial audit or whatever case may be. Same thing with the judgment seat in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Similar thing or whatever. It's an audit. You see what I'm saying? The judge is basically the god of death, or a priest, or a priest of Saturn or El or something like that, or a priest of the god of death. You feel me? And because the god of death is also the god of justice and correction and all that stuff like that. These are the attributes of Saturn. Whenever you get into the penal system, the court system, and everything like that, even astrologically, that fits into the theme of Saturn and everything like that. But the judge is doing the assessment or whatever case may be, and you're incarcerated based on the price or the value of your infraction or whatever, and you're civilly dead until you're resurrected back into the world after the bond has matured. Okay, so the prison court relationship and the gods of judgment. Prison court relationship is something that they're gonna lie about and say that don't exist. But if you do enough research, you'll find, you know, this ain't an informational video on how to find it or what to look for. But when you start getting into some of these titles, comptrollers, and some of these people that deal with the finances of the court system and stuff like that, and if you trace it well enough, because I know people who have traced it, and I've seen the documentation, I've seen the trail of people that lead back to this, so I know it's a real thing, regardless of what it said. The court and the prison systems operate in an illicit, though often concealed, partnership that ensures the efficient utilization of the collateral, the inmate's body and labor, the prospectus and volume, the existence of a prospectus or forecast to determine the necessary volume of inmates, how many beds will be needed, and the volume of inmates needed to fill them, reveals the financialized and engineered nature of the system. In this energetic model, the prison is not just punishment, it is an energetic warehouse. An energetic warehouse. Stay out these people courtroom, in the words of Yusuf L, man. Stay out these people courtroom, bro. Because no matter how good you are at this stuff or whatever case may be, when you start getting into the whole criminal aspect of the law, whatever case may be, it's like a black hole. It's like the prosecutor has immense power in the courtroom, and it really escapes the realm of right and wrong at that point. You see what I'm saying? um, it really gets out of the realm of right and wrong and everything like that. They can know you didn't do it. Once you're in that venue, they can know you didn't do it, and it's in the obligation of the prosecutor or whatever case may be. It's his obligation, if he knows that you didn't commit the crime, to exonerate you. But it's a financial play, as we've been seeing as well. So even if they know you didn't do it, they still gonna try to get you in. They still gonna try to lock you up. So to my young gods, peace to the gods. You did me. It ensures that the collateral body is contained and utilized to service the debt, right? Your body, or that time that you serve, is used to pay the debt, the financial obligation that you incurred when you did whatever infraction. When your food stamps got cut off and you went in Walmart and tried to steal, the charge that you got and the time was proportionate to the time that you're going to spend, whatever they warehouse you, and took a little bit of your energy off the strength of that. So they got paid off of you, basically, because these bonds are traded on markets and stuff like that. And I ain't here to go into the details of all that. If you do your research, which people I know personally have done, you will find the trail that leads to all this stuff, and you'll see Brother Sar ain't crazy. The Brother Sar and all these other people who talk about this ain't crazy. The inmates labor, the low cost or free labor. You can only be enslaved if you commit a crime, or extracted from inmates, is interpreted as the physical manifestation of the discharging of the energetic debt associated with the charge. The bioetheric energy of the inmate's life force is channeled to repay the societal bonds. So your trauma, basically, your trauma and all your prison stories about everything that happened or whatever case may be, the disruption of your life, your family, you having to bounce back and everything like that. Shout out to anybody who's kind of like been down that road or whatever case may be. No judgment. Kind of paid their debt to society, man. It's some awesome brothers. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you, it's some awesome brothers that have went down that road and stuff like that. And honestly, when I say they awesome brothers, um, it's brothers I know personally that have kind of served their debt to society, and they've outperformed people that's been in the free world the whole time. You see what I'm saying? Because they just had some kind of determination. I know brothers in there who, they may be in there serving their time or whatever, and they, I don't know, they got into their spirituality, and I don't know, they tapped into different aspects of self or whatever case may be. They doing what they got to do to survive in there, whatever case may be. So much respect to them cats. But it's a lot of cats out there who made their way out and everything like that, and attained a very high level of performance, and they didn't let that time that was spent in there define them. So I gotta get them shout outs, get them a lot of from man to man, a lot of love and respect. Um, the bio-etheric energy of the inmates' life force is channeled to repay the societal bond. So basically, energetically, your trauma and everything that you went through in that situation or whatever case may be, judgment, civil death, and the gods of the afterlife. See, the judicial act of sentencing and incarceration, especially in the context of civil death, mirrors the mythological judgment processes of various death deities. Okay, so the judgment seat of death or whatever case may be, um, the judgment seat of death and everything like that mirrors this whole judgment on the physical side with the administrator or the judge that's sentencing you or whatever case may be. You know what I mean? Um, and another thing to say, about some of the guys that's may have did their time. Even some of those individuals, um, I don't know, some of those individuals who may have had influence or whatever, whether they've been behind the wall with that influence or whether they, came out and kind of took their life lessons from in there, came back on the streets or whatever, and kind of been a positive influence to some of the younger guys. Because what I will say, anytime a person has experiences like that or whatever, and they make it out of tough experiences or whatever case may be, that may be a blessing in disguise, in the sense that you got a story to tell, as the church people say, a testimony, but a story to tell as far as this young person who may be going down that same road or whatever case may be, and they ain't trying to hear nothing nobody else got to say, but man, OG such and such, you experienced this or whatever case may be, and you telling your story or whatever case may be. Okay, that person might take a different route or whatever, and try to do things a different way or whatever. So there's always value in that. Just giving shout outs to the brothers and sisters, because there's sisters in there as well. So brothers and sisters who kind of like pay their debt, um, and try to do something different. The judicial act of sentencing, that's my in video rant, ladies and gentlemen. The judicial act of sentencing and incarceration, especially in the context of civil death, mirrors the mythological judgment processes of various death deities. Civil death, when an individual is incarcerated, they suffer a form of civil death. They are stripped of many civil rights and functions. They are removed from the living society's register. The legal status is the closest modern analog to the ancient concept of the soul standing judgment. So this is a mirror. This is a fractal of the soul standing judgment at death. Okay, contrast with the gods of death, right? Anubis, Egyptian, the court like Anubis presides over the weighing of the heart, the energetic worth, intent against Ma'at, societal balance. If the weight is wrong, guilt is proven. The individual is deemed unfit for the sunlit world of the living, right? Because remember, in the coming forth by day, after they traverse the trials of the afterlife or whatever, they get to come back and participate in the world of the living. Hades, Osiris, Greek, Egyptian. The prison is the symbolic underworld or the realm of Osiris. Inmates are forced into a luminal state, right? Disconnected from life, where their soul, their social self, in this metaphor, undergoes a long transformative or punitive period before potential resurrection, re-entry into society. So this is a fractal of death. Going to prison is a fractal of dying and going into the underworld, afterlife, stuff like that. That would be like a fractal or a mirror of that, a reflection of that. Vazima, Malagasy, the process aligns with the need to appease the ancestors' society. Incarceration is the act of segregating the energetically contaminated to prevent the fatty taboo curse from infecting the collective or whatever case may be. Because if you do something, then somebody else gonna see you did it. So they did it, I can get away with it. So they gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And it infects the nature of society. The entire process is a form of etheric judgment and recalibration, where the court system, acting as the psychopomp, guide of souls, directs the energetic indebted to the designated energetic discharge chamber, the prison. So yeah, that's just that's just doing a short one. There's longer material on that, I got a longer case study on that, but that's kind of getting to the point on that one. Yeah, that's um, the bioetheric engineering of incarceration. You see what I'm saying? The whole idea of civil death, the whole idea of catching a charge, the idea that the bioetheric feedback loop functions on it, not just an individual human being level, but on a societal level as well, or whatever. And the little nuances and bells and whistles that we experience in society, especially the legal system or whatever, um, it's a portion of the feedback loop. But to kind of like go into that as far as the feedback loop, as far as um, how it works when a person is incarcerated, what's actually going on as far as, on the financial side, we know that there's a connection between, the prisons and the court system or whatever case may be. Allegedly, we're gonna say on YouTube, but you know how that go. Um, and what that actually entails. So just scratching the surface on that. If we need to, we'll do another longer one on that. But that's bioethical engineering of incarceration. Y'all like what y'all been hearing? Like, subscribe, man. Appreciate y'all checking me out, tuning in, staying in here with me. Peace to the gods. Catch y'all on the next one.